Welcome everyone to the PYRESWAP show, sponsored by Pocket. Phenomenal developments recently. We have some stuff to announce, I guess. And I really want to first of all thank everybody for joining us here on Sunday. I don't know if you guys are watching the Discord chat, but a few minutes ago I provided a little sneaky peek of the fact that we're doing man on the street content to promote PYRESWAP. So in that particular image, we are in fact just asking people, how has inflation affected them, and whether or not they believe the economy is in a recession or in recovery. And this just happens to be a sample of what happened. I was basically explaining what inflation was to these two individuals, and the goal there was to be just as educational as possible, if that makes sense. And can you guys hear me in Discord? Am I audible? Fantastic. Okay, so literally, that's a work in progress. I want you guys to understand something. Like getting these content faucets, these content factories up and running, it always takes a little bit of work beforehand. For those of you who are old enough to remember, this show, the PYRESWAP show, didn't even used to have a set. This was literally just me on mic. So if you guys understand the evolution from me just being on mic inside Discord to me being on video across multiple platforms, like we're scaling up our ability to make content. Naturally, this type of content is great for people who are already, I guess you could say, adopters, or I guess you could say people who are engaged with what PYRESWAP is. But when it comes to widening the awareness, things like short form content like TikTok and YouTube Shorts and Instagram, Facebook Reels, they have the potential to get our logo and our brand and our project on a lot of new eyeballs. So man on the street content does really well because it just happens to be like public opinion and it shows people socializing. So we did that this past weekend, and we may or may not have some footage, some little snippets from that time doing interviews that may or may not end up on other platforms like Twitter and YouTube and what have you. So I hope that makes sense to everybody. We also got a lot more stickers deployed over the weekend. We still do not have the orange sticker in yet. It was supposed to come in on Friday. I'm assuming it's coming in on Monday. And yes, if you're waiting for me to DM you back, I have not forgotten about you. I just literally have something like 250 unread DMs. And I did not start on that stack today. I'll probably start tomorrow morning, to be honest. I'll probably start tomorrow morning on replies. Because it's just a large stack to drill through, and it's just the way things work right now. Eventually, it won't be that way, but right now it is. Okay, do you guys know what's happening today? Do you guys know what's happening? Okay, assuming you guys don't know what's happening. Emissions they're going from 1.75% daily to 1% today. That will be officialized probably within 12 hours from now, if that makes sense. This will be an implementation. And I want you guys to know that I was just looking at the charts for PyreBNB, PyreAVAX, and PyrePhantom. And over the last week, they're all down between like 30 and 60%, something like that. Like something like 30 to 60% downtrend for the last week. Does that make sense? So if you were going to divide either one of these numbers by 7, this number is almost 10, and this number is almost 5, right? So like a daily downtrend, right? And I want you guys to understand something, that this 1.75 is something like almost quadruple what deflation is doing, if that makes sense. So as we bring emissions down, we're bringing the ratio of inflation to deflation to be closer to something that's balanced. and arguably we're going to get it to the point where deflation is outpacing it. So right now, it's my goal that we stay at 1% for a little while. So not only will we be monitoring it weekly, but my goal is that when we're at 1%, we break out of downtrend. Does that make sense? My goal is that we break out of downtrend with 1%. If we don't clearly break out of downtrend by 1%, we can cut 1% down to 0.7 or 0.6 or 0.5 or even lower. Does that make sense? Like if we really need to. This will be fine. This will absolutely be fine. Effectively speaking, while you might see some disruptions, like people who are only interested in the token for the emissions, they might exit and take their money elsewhere. They would really be selling at a loss, and arguably they shouldn't. I think most people who are the user base that I'm really trying to cultivate, they understand that this product is a whole lot bigger than its genesis, and I am bullish that they will remain in these emission collection positions and will be able to break into an uptrend all the way back up to peg, if that makes sense. Now, I want to be clear when we talk about this 30% to 60% downtrend while only having a 1.75% daily. I want you guys to understand something. We're looking at a ratio here where it's like 1.75 against like 0.5. Does that make sense? So it's really more like triple. Does that make sense? It's like 350%, right? Does that make sense to you guys? So we have this 1.75, and we say we have a 0.5 level of deflation, but we could have lower than 0.5 too. Like deflation will be a bit random. Does that make sense? This expansion rate, very, very consistent, but the deflation rate is going to be a bit random because things like large surges in the price of Bitcoin or Ethereum can affect it. Surges in AVAX, BNB, and Phantom can affect it. Just regular user behavior can affect it. The gratuity rate can affect it, right? So the fact of the matter is that when we go from 1.75 to 1, it's not like we're just taking 3/4 of a point down. We're actually bringing this down to the point where we're going from 350 to 200%, something like this. Does that make sense? And that's literally just with 0.5 here. Arguably, it could be between 0.25 and 0.5. It's just random. There's just more variety in the rate of deflation. So, but we're going to reduce our emissions until, even with the randomness of deflation, we'll be in an uptrend. I want you guys to understand something as well. You see that 350% on that side, and we talk about this 30 to 60% downtrend. You have to understand inflation being higher than deflation, in a perfectly rational market, you would see that we're only going to lose price based on that ratio, right? Does that make sense? Like you're only going to see like the amount of price decrease based on how much you're printing versus how much you're burning. However, there's always exponentials, there's always exponents in market trends. So you end up having speculation on the above. Does that make sense? And then 3, you also have speculation on speculation. Does that make sense? So the fact of the matter is, our goal, I'm just writing this in inflation. So you have speculation on inflation, which adds another degree of downtrend. And then if you have speculation on speculation, that adds another degree of downtrend. I don't think we have too much of this third one right now. Does that make sense? I don't think people, you only normally see that in like really, really violent crashes. Does that make sense to you guys? Like, I want you to understand that with every single order we increase, this increases the, I don't want to say convexity here, but I guess you could say concavity. So like, if 1 is this, if 1 looks like a fucking linear downtrend, but then you have speculation on the downtrend, then you'll have like something like breaks out like this. Does that make sense? And then if you have speculation on the speculation, you'll have a curve that goes down like this. Does that make sense? So the good news is I don't think we have any order 3 speculation. Does that make sense? Order 3 trend. Because order 3 trend, this is normally panic. This is like legit fucking straight up panic. Do you guys get what I'm saying? Now, while our charts are in the downtrend, would you guys agree they don't necessarily look like they're in a panic? Would you guys understand that it's like a little bit different? We have a very quiet chat today. I guess you guys got extremely drunk on Saturday. Are you guys nursing your hangovers? Yeah. Would you guys agree? It's not a panic. So the fact of the matter is we just need to get deflation higher than inflation to the point where we can make number 2 effectively reverse trend. Does that make sense? And I think we're more likely to have bullish order 3 trend. I guess this is like order of trend, yeah. So first order trend, second order trend, third order trend. I think we're more likely to get third order trend when we're in a bullish direction than in a bearish direction right now. Hoping that makes sense to everybody. And if you guys want me to like go further into detail about this theory, by all means. I want you guys to understand something. Before Genesis, we maybe had like a group of less than 20 beta testers that were open beta testers. And really there was like 10 people doing it 80% of the time, maybe another 10 people doing it 20% of the time. And all we did was prove that Pyre Phantom, Pyre BNB, and Pyre AVAX will follow the trend based on their supply, expansion, or contraction in recent history. Does that make sense? Like that's all we did, right? There was decay at that time, but like the decay is just one variable in the deflation equation. Does that make sense? So I chose to make a bigger bet on the user base by turning inflation off. Turning decay off. A bigger bet on the user base. In fact, tapering inflation is also making a bigger bet on the user base. But I think that again, when I talk to you guys about growing a user base, I really mean that like these are 300 people that we need to care about, right? Like I'm not just trying to like, get a stampede through here and I don't have to care about these people. Like these 300 people, in theory, they're taking place as something that we're trying to prove is historical in DeFi. Hope that makes sense. Yeah. I'm not commodifying these users. Yeah, these users are very, very important. Not just for PYRESWAP, but for like DeFi in general. Like we have to like shift the paradigm, active staking, right? It's not that crazy. Like we're just saying, okay, that other type of staking is passive. This is active. Like it's not that fucking crazy, but there's always these mental hurdles that we have to kind of like be invested in people being able to overcome. And once we get a certain amount of people that we know their names and we care about them, then you'll end up with a crowd that's so big that you can't be invested in all of them. You can't necessarily remember them all. I hope that makes sense to everybody. Whether you're talking to me on Twitter or YouTube or Twitch or Kick or Discord. Do you guys get what I'm saying? Like, yeah, like I am not talking about like, hey, we need 300 schmucks. I'm talking about like, we need 300 people who want to be fucking DeFi pioneers, right? Because it's, again, who is going to be the type of person that actually like gets involved? Like they're not going to be like, they're gonna have to be able, and I don't mean to besmirch or disparage anybody, they're going to have to be on the smarter half of the Web3 user base. Does that make sense? But again, do you guys remember, I like the 300 reference. Do you guys remember that like when tomb forks were first became a thing, that was a new thing as well, right? You stake in the boardroom. Do you guys remember this? This was like a new fucking thing. It printed every epoch. It wasn't like an emission from a farm. It printed every epoch. Yeah. So like the fact of the matter is that through this paradigm shift, you understand the start of the original tomb finance, it also didn't really like scale immensely. It just happened to get like acquired by somebody who wanted to walk away from it. And arguably, it was just a fork of Basis Cash too. Like it was a modified fork of Basis Cash. But do you guys understand that like we probably only have 1 and 2 on the downtrend? On the uptrend, orders of trend. We'll call them orders of trend, right? So deflation being higher than inflation. Does that make sense? 2, speculation on deflation. Then 3, you got to understand where we are in the price chart is so very low that I think people will figure out that like, okay, if deflation is higher than inflation and all of these other aspects are correct, this is probably like the last chance to buy. because we're not gonna. I want you guys to know something. We're not going to increase the emissions later. Some people have asked that. It's like, hey, can you turn the spigot back on later in Genesis? And we probably won't. We probably won't. We'll let the price of the coin be what repairs the APR. Does that make sense, everybody? We're going to let demand increase the APR. Because arguably, if we're at 1% daily, that's still very aggressive expansion rate. Do you guys get what I'm saying? Like 1% is still very aggressive. If we need to go to 0.7, that's still pretty aggressive. Do you guys get what I'm saying? Like, it's still very aggressive. If you guys know a project called Solana, Solana has a 15% annual expansion rate. And people are like, oh, that's too inflationary. Do you guys get what I'm saying? So like us being 0.5 a day for the next 5 months is still highly aggressive, right? We actually are about 6 weeks into Genesis V2. So I guess that implies we have 18 weeks left. I think, yeah, 18 weeks left. So for the next 18 weeks, it's still like 1% a day for 18 weeks is crazy aggressive. If we even did half of that, that's crazy aggressive. So then you have speculation on speculation, right? Now the other factors here, because by the way, these do apply. By the way, that's why I was showing you the man on the street content. We are doing content and marketing. And the fact of the matter is, nothing is better at making the token. Oh yeah, Zonic, for sure. Yeah. But also, they have no way to actually reduce supply with the US dollar. Yeah, so like in order for the US dollar to fix itself, they have to literally wait for the economy to grow. Does that make sense? They just like, okay, we're gonna park it here and we're gonna wait for people to just invent things and figure out new sandwiches to sell. And, you know, create a SaaS for something that wasn't a SaaS before. Or put AI into something that didn't need AI, right? That's how you increase the fucking dollar value. Or figure out, you know, or get a new diet trending. Okay? Nothing, when we talk about deflation and inflation, we're talking about scarcity and abundance. Do you guys understand? Now, nothing helps something become more scarce than a larger group of people interested in it. Do you guys get it? Like, there's a numerator and a denominator here. Do you guys get what I'm saying? So, when we talk about scarcity, we have, let me pull this market up. I'll get this one actually. We'll call this TS over, what should I call this? Community or user base? I'll call it user base. How about that? TS over UB. I guess you guys would care about it being reversed, actually. Hang on. So, if the user base goes up, do you guys get what I'm saying? If our user base goes up, this will make an up. If our total supply goes down, this is also an up. Does that make sense? So the fact of the matter is that our goal here, by the way, is technically our total supply might still be going up, right? So our actual grand equation here, I'm going to erase all this because I think I wrote this the last couple days. So we want, total supply is still going up. Does that make sense? But we want our user base going up more. Does that make sense? The whole thing over time, by the way. Do you guys understand? So user base, we're going to do everything we possibly can to increase this. Total supply will still be going up, but at a much smaller rate. Does that make sense? The total supply will be going up at a rate that I think, again, flattens the chart. We're going to make it so deflation, by the way, deflation, again, deflation and inflation are not just supply, okay? So let me explain that again. I'll write this up. Inflation is like supply. Supply goes up, demand goes down, right? And or, by the way. So and or. Deflation supply goes down, demand goes up. And this is and or as well. Right? Okay? So so literally both these things matter, but the fact of the matter is we also have expansion and contraction. Expansion, this is just supply goes up. Contraction. This is just supply goes down. Does that make sense to you guys? So I want you to understand that the incantation witch fault actually does increase a little bit of buy pressure on the tokens. Pyre Phantom, Pyre BNB, Pyre AVAX. So like it's always providing some demand. So it's not like, oh hey, all we need to do is burn the token to get the peg. It's not single variable. Almost none of this is ever single variable. So like we can do that when we had decay. When we had decay, we were just taking the token in total supply down. Does that make sense? Like we didn't need there to be buyers for it. We're just gonna be like, okay, we're gonna deflate it by just taking things away. But I think the fact of the matter is that it just created too much mental labor for the project. We have so many new things in this project. We didn't also need to have this crazy fucking mechanic. Do you guys get what I'm saying? Like literally, I want you guys to understand something. Above 0.8, there's already no decay, right? There already was no decay, right? So decay was already something that tapered down to 0 regardless. It meant to be the seatbelt, but I think the fact of the matter is that my goal here is to get more people involved in the horizontal money in the first place. Like people need to be in the horizontal money if they want to win inside PYRESWAP, right? Everybody being okay. Thanks, Sonic. Anyways, and you know what? By the way, I don't actually look at the audience. Yeah, I just try to like give my all every day now. Oh yeah, the Holy Mountain. Yeah, I've never seen this movie. I'm just a poser. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I do appreciate the feedback. Yeah, hope this makes sense. Like again, increasing the user base also increases the demand. User base goes up, demand goes up. Does that make sense? I want you to know something. Pyre AVAX, I paid out the Pyre AVAX on Friday to the people that were in the contest. That was the only one that I saw up over 24 hours, which is kind of interesting. Yeah, like the other two were down. Like, you know, not like a huge amount one way or another, but Pyre AVAX being effectively given out for free effectively was creating more demand for it. But yeah, this still remains the plan. We're going to have our APR tapered again, and the whole goal is, again, is to make deflation higher than inflation. We're going to, in order to solve the rest of the demand problem, we're going to, again, get into an uptrend and then allow people to fucking trend trade. Because apparently that's all they want to do anyways. When we, the trend, okay, we have the ability to really rocket up in price if content and marketing are really firing on all cylinders. But when we hit the TWAP thresholds where meeting becomes profitable again, you're going to see a little bit of sell pressure on Pyre Phantom again and a little bit of buy pressure back on the peg coins. Does that make sense? So the fact of the matter is that if you're holding, yeah. If you're holding Pyre Phantom Pyre BNB, Pyre AVAX, illiquid. I'll make a different color for this. You can basically keep holding them illiquid. When mead becomes profitable again, you can begin selling off these tokens in advance for the peg coin and then pairing them in deeper liquidity. Do you guys get it? Because the fact of the matter is, both the peg coin and this mead coin, they both have to they have to go to the same price at this point, right? So the fact of the matter is if you sell some off and put it in liquidity, you're now going to make profit both in the vertical and in the horizontal. Hope that makes sense, everybody. Do you guys understand what I mean by vertical and horizontal? Fantastic, CJ. So effectively, when these things get back up to parity, don't do it before they're at parity. They should be within like 5% of parity of each other. Does that make sense before you do this? I would still DCA out, but the fact of the matter is from you doing this, you can now deepen the shit out of your liquidity inside the Genesis pools too. And by the way, we will be doing the airdrop for the Genesis V1 stuff shortly. I would like to say we should try to do that next week, not this week. Not like the first week of September, but I think the second week of September, we should be able to omit that. All right. Let's see. Okay, man on the street content, we did stickers. We're going to have more stickers, sticker content. Emissions are down. Emissions are decreased, is what I mean to say. Yeah, we will taper emissions until we see the uptrend. Does that make sense? So if at 1% today we don't really see an uptrend in like a week, we will just taper them again. Does that make sense? Like if we go lower than 1%, like if we go down to 0.5 and then we get into an uptrend, maybe I'll bring it back up to 1. But I don't think I'll ever make it higher than 1 ever again. Does that make sense? Like I'll probably keep it at 1 or lower. So 1 or lower is where the emissions are going to be. If I decrease it again to like 0.5, once we're in 0.5, we should definitely be in an uptrend. It's almost, that feels like overkill to me. But when we get into that uptrend and maybe you start seeing speculation on the uptrend and we start seeing the user base grow kind of like organically over the week, then we could end up doubling the emission rate again to 1%. And then that way the APR will be high and we might also have the user base to sustain that higher APR. Hope that makes sense, everybody. Am I talking too fast? Do you guys hear the board rock back and forth when I erase it? I need to clean this whiteboard like once a week. I'm really glad we got this whiteboard though, because otherwise what would I do when I'm up here? Tighten the bolts? Yeah. I think it needs to be drilled to the floor. Board needs deeper liquidity. We end up cleaning it with this bleach rag every week because it starts to smudge, which you can kind of see on camera. Not too bad today. A little bit up here. Not too bad. Anyways, do you guys want to see something cool? How fucking cool is that? How fucking cool is that? I know, right? I know. Aren't you guys glad you attended? Thanks. Sunday, I guess, you know, crypto was just sad on the weekends, or rather it's just not as, sometimes we have huge crowds on Sunday, but again, you know, they're hit and miss. Tomorrow is a holiday in the United States. Yeah, tomorrow's a holiday in the United States. Also, by the way, September. Usually a sad month for markets. Now, this wasn't true in 2021 in crypto. I think in 2021 in crypto, that's when like Bitcoin came back. It like hit new all-time high and then it like crashed like 50% of it, but then it like came back up to all-time high. Do you guys know what I'm talking about here? I'm really glad we had that as a gift. Yeah. Literally that. If you guys are waiting for a DM from me, there's like 50 of you guys, and I'm going to get to you. Yeah, perception, great question. I would say that Sunday's like a low day. I noticed I have a lot of replies in the AVAX Talk giveaway, so maybe they're looking for direction on how to play. But yeah, it's quite possible that it's is it jammed? Is the epoch jammed over on AVAX? Avalanche, okay, due to the fact that our size is what it is, Avalanche has kind of been slow to start because its gas cost is like 20 times higher than the other chains, right? At least for Phantom. BNB, it's maybe like 4 or 5 times higher. But the point being there is, like, I'm not bearish on the Avalanche chain at all. In fact, AVAX Talk has been wonders for getting us promoted. The fact of the matter is that we need to scale the game to the point that the gas cost seems equivalent in the user base's eye. Does that make sense? So what that means, by the way, is if we have to populate, this is the way that I look at it. Like, if we assume that everybody is chain agnostic, which they're not, some people are only on Phantom, some people are only on Avalanche, right? If we have to populate, like, you know, PYREBNB by saturating Pyre Phantom, we will. And if we have to populate PYREVAX by saturating PYREBNB, we will. Does that make sense? So like if we have to market in this direction where like, hey, we're going to saturate the one with the lowest gas. And when that one is saturated, people will figure out, oh, hey, I can now go play on PYREBNB. So right now, why so cynical? He could move over to PYREBNB right now. Do you get what I'm saying? He might not want to sell that much, but like he might just have better luck playing on PYREBNB and just growing his bag over there. Do you get what I'm saying? So literally, like if that's what helps people move people along, we will. Some people easily go from chain to chain. Others not so much. The only way to make this happen is to grow the user base, right? That way you effectively make it happen. I don't know the word here. Organically? Yeah. Does everybody grab me? Does everybody feel me? Does everybody touch me? Anyways, yeah. We're only getting bigger and better. So, if no one has any questions, oh yeah, the man on the street content will only get better as well. You guys haven't even seen it yet, but I'm obviously going to get better at that with practice and stuff. Jeff, there was a bunch from AVAX Talk. So we got like a few dozen people this last week. A lot of them might just be here to get some PYREVAX and then they leave, right? And they basically just, you know, cause a sell. But in general, Yeah, if you look at the screen right now, actually, yeah, there is servers happening. There's joins all over the place. We're just even this trickle of a few a day. ZeroKex, yes, we are still being pen tested. Although I don't know where we are in the status of that. That might be something I check on tomorrow. Yeah. So like even this people joining the server is great, but I want it to be like a constant uptick of people joining. Does that make sense? So Miracool was one of the people that joined from AVAX Talk. So like people do join from that. Jeff, the only way to make more people join the Discord is just to have more and more. And I'll explain this, by the way. Let me talk about marketing and content. Let's think about content as pistons of an engine. So examples of content like being pistons, we've got Discord, we've got Twitter, we've got fucking Reddit, we've got TikTok, we've got YouTube. Maybe we've got fucking stickers. Right? And then we have more and more and more things, right? And these are all the pistons in our own engine. If we want to get up to speed, we want more pistons firing. Does that make sense? More and more pistons firing. Marketing, this is us, gears of a transmission. So in order for us to actually get into second gear and get into third gear, we need the pistons of the engine firing so that whenever we gear up, the momentum carries us forward. Does that make sense? So we actually clutch correctly. CJ, we do have a subreddit. r/PYRESWAP. So yes, so I will Reddit is something that we're going to be getting going in the next 10 days. So in the next 10 days, I expect that we'll have TikTok going, we'll have Reddit going, and we'll probably have YouTube Shorts going as well. Does that make sense? We'll probably also have some upgrades to the Twitter because I think that our restream might have some more things that we can do with it, and we might need some more monitors for me to see more chats. Does that make sense? Like I have this one laptop here which I can use for playing PYRESWAP, and then I might need something more like that, and I don't even know where the fuck we'd put it, but like yeah, we would set something up where I can look at more chats in a nutshell. Apple Vision, do you think that's what I need? Yeah, just be up here with Apple Vision. I don't think that's the one I move. That's not the move for me. Yeah. Yeah, Neuralink. No. I need to go through Restream again and figure out how I can either have a second computer logged into Restream, right? Like that might be it. Yeah, I might just need more computers. Yeah. We need a computer kind of like simply for the yeah, more on that later. That's something that you guys don't have to worry about. But yeah. A landline advertised on screen, yeah. 1-800-PYRESWAP. Call, yeah. But again, who the fuck is answering the landline? Yeah, we're not doing that shit. Ring indeed. Yeah. No. Like I let my phone ring all the time. I just wouldn't answer it. I work with earplugs in and I mute my phone. Yeah, it's just that's what you have to do to focus sometimes. But yeah, no actual landline. I will say this though, when we were doing Man on the Street content this last weekend, we actually got asked like, what was our TikTok and what was our thing, and we didn't even have one. We're like, oh, our TikTok is still in this kind of configuration error, and I told them they could just like follow our Twitter, but yeah. Anyways, having like a business card which has either like a link tree or the QR code on it like for the purpose of handing out to people if they want one, that might not be a bad investment either. Like just like, hey, I have this, I can just give it to you. As opposed to giving them a sticker, I think it makes more sense that if somebody's willing to get a business card, you get what I'm saying. Like for certain people that actually care about it. Yeah, so like just general PYRESWAP business cards that can be handed out to people. Because other than that, I think that would be useful if on our landing page we had all the tutorials needed, or we maybe had that in documentation. And more on that later. Yeah, just like that. Just like that. The tasteful thickness of it. Let's take a look at Paul Allen's card. Impressive. Very nice. Yeah. Okay. Do you guys have questions? Because I'm gonna actually wrap it up here. We did a 42-minute show. It'll be fine. Yeah. More exciting stuff tomorrow. We're gonna do macro Monday, even if like the markets in America are closed. We'll just talk about this stuff. I'm gonna get to everybody DMing me tomorrow. We're gonna have more stickers tomorrow, and we're putting out more stickers on Tuesday. So we're gonna be stickering the fucking world by storm. By the way, I've already figured out how I'm stickering Wall Street up yesterday. So we're gonna have PYRESWAP stickers all over Wall Street in New York as well. More on that later. Anyways, if there's no questions, I'll do my little salute. Thank you guys so much for coming to the PYRESWAP show. Have a great rest of your weekend. And